All right, so do another video here. Kind of get back into the video thing. This one is going to be a little bit more of an information thing. We're going to talk about three things that seem unrelated but are closely related, and that would be guitars, golf, and trikes. And you're thinking, how in the hell are those related? Well, if you ever owned a Spider, or you've been on the Can-Am Spider website, or you know their Spider Lovers, any of those sites, and you get people talking about laser alignment. They take their Spiders in, they buy a brand new Spider, it doesn't handle like they think, they take it in, get it laser aligned, and all of a sudden it's marvelous. They spent, I don't know, $300 having it laser aligned, and now they're happy. There's a little glitch here, and here's where the guitars and the golf come in. Back a few years ago when I was in high school, I used to play guitar. Not much, and I wasn't any good at it, but I did. Well, here about 3 years ago, a little over 2 years, I thought, you know, I should buy a guitar and learn how to play again, just to amuse myself. So I did. I bought a nice Yamaha 6-string acoustic, and had to learn from scratch. I forgot everything. I didn't know how to build a chord, I didn't know anything. And of course, my fingers turned purple, and it hurt like hell. And I had strings of buzzing and everything else. And after about a month or so, then I got the calluses, and I started to actually make some kind of noise. And you know, it just didn't sound like the videos that I was watching on how to play. And I thought, you know, I should buy a more expensive guitar. So the Yamaha, which I paid $190 for, I decided to buy a Zager. And if you know Denny Zager, he builds guitars, American made, $1,000. So I bought the Zager guitar, which was nice and loud and crisp, and it sounded just as bad as my Yamaha. As it turns out, it wasn't the guitar, it was me. Since then, I've made much better noise, and it's actually sounding pretty good. So we'll talk about golf now a little bit, and then I'll tie this all together. I used to work for a golf company years ago, and I was their network engineer. And I would get out to the stores. They had 76 stores, so I would travel all over the country, troubleshoot the computer systems, and you know, design and install stuff and that kind of thing. And you know, they had the what I called the batting cages. They had the driving mats and the nets and all that. People would come in and they'd grab a driver and they'd just start whacking away, and you could tell by, you know, I'm a golfer, so I know, you know, something about it. And you can tell by the sound of how they're hitting the ball that it's not good. But they grab this driver, boy, this is really great, and they take it and, you know, spend $300-400 on it. And the next week they're right back with that driver because it didn't work right, and they buy another driver. And after a few weeks, that one comes back, and it's just a never-ending thing. And one of the sales guys told me, he said, you know, they'll spend $5,000 in golf equipment, but they won't spend $50 on a lesson. I've got the same clubs. Well, I lost my golf clubs in the fire, but prior to that, I believe the ones I had were 22 years old. And I had opportunities to buy brand new clubs for almost nothing. And I didn't because I was comfortable with what I had, and I played well with them. And I tried new clubs, and I played the same. It's not the clubs. It's the way you're playing. And here's the thing. You buy a new driver, and you're confident, and you're gonna have a much better swing, and the ball's gonna go really well. But once you stray, and hit it in the woods, your confidence goes down, you start to steer the ball, and everything goes terrible. And the same with the guitar thing. The equipment's not the problem. The problem is you have to take the time to learn. Now, I have had, I'd say, well, I've been doing this for 12 years altogether, and about 7 years production, so I'm getting up there about 100 bikes. I've probably had 2 or 3 where people had trouble learning. And I think all but one actually figured it out and got going and everything. But I've had a couple where they right away start tweaking with stuff and adjusting this and adjusting that. And I try to tell them, you know what? Just learn how to drive it. You got to get comfortable with it. A good example is I did have one fella from southern Colorado send me his bike up here, and he was going to drive it back. And I asked him up front, I said, you know, have you ever driven a snowmobile or ATV? Because if you understand how they handle, this will handle, you'll get the hang of this. Or a Can-Am Spyder. If you've driven a Can-Am Spyder or a snowmobile or an ATV, you got her. And he said he didn't, so I said, okay, I think you'll be fine then. Put the whole bike together, test drove it, everything was fine. He came to get it, and he couldn't go 10 feet. And it's kind of crazy. He would get on the bike, and his feet are on the ground, and he's like this, and he just drives straight ahead. And I said, well, just turn. And he couldn't do it. He would turn the handlebars, take off, and straighten right out. And I told him, pretend you're mowing the lawn. You're driving the garden tractor. Drive it just like that. I said, you just, you know, put your feet up on the pegs. It can't tip over, which it really can't. And I told him, I'm going to ride with you. So I got in front of him on my trike. We drove through town about 20 miles an hour. Then we got on the highway, and I said, you know, don't try to catch up to me. I said, you know, if I see you falling back, I'll slow down. So we got up to about 35 miles an hour, and we drove about 7 or 8 miles. And I stopped, and he said, boy, I don't know. I just don't know if I can do this. And I said, you know what? Just relax. Just relax. Put one hand on the handlebar and the other one on your hip, and let it go. I said, you know, the bike's going to wander a little. Well, it doesn't really wander, but it does this because it's balancing on a single back wheel, and the front wheels are like non-standard. These are 5 feet wide where a car is 7. So the tracks are different. And then you've got the back wheel is on the center hump. So I said, just like the Can-Ams, the guys with the Can-Ams, they say, well, they're dodgy, they jump all over. But the whole thing is, if you're tense, the handlebars are connected directly to the wheels. So you turn the handlebars 30 degrees, and you turn the wheels almost that much too. So it's really quick. It's not like a car where you have 2.5 turns from one end to the other. With this, you have 40 degrees from one end to the other. I mean, it's pretty quick. So I told him, relax, let the bike do its thing. So he did that, and I could tell we were getting up to 55, 60 miles an hour. Got next to the freeway, and I said, well, we're on the freeway, you want me to ride with you? And he goes, nope, I got it. He said, that relax thing, that's working. He drove it all the way home, didn't have any trouble. And since then, he says he couldn't believe he had so much trouble. Same thing, you gotta give it some time. And you know, a lot of people will, you know, give you kind of the macho thing where, well, you know, real men lean, and when I get too old to, you know, hold the bike up, then I'll go with a trike. They don't quite understand that the trike really is just an extension of a motorcycle, especially one like this. You know, a standard trike, there's a difference between a motorcycle and a standard trike. These are a little bit different because they're sportier. The handling's quite a bit different. It's a lot more predictable, and having the wheels up in front where you can see them, it's just a totally different deal. And anybody who owns a Spyder will agree that probably would never go back to a motorcycle because you can do so much more with them. And the real trick is just get comfortable with it. Learn. You know, you don't go out and buy a bicycle and expect to drive it right away. I mean, you're gonna fall down a whole bunch before you figure it out. I know I did. And it's kind of the same thing. So, you know, anything in life that's different, you gotta take the time to learn. You know, nobody just automatically becomes a carpenter or learns how to do body work or any of that stuff without practice and some technical background and that kind of thing. So that's the whole scoop on what it takes. And like I say, if you've driven ATVs, if you've driven snowmobiles especially, and I've had people say, well, you know, they'll test drive and say, well, it's a snowmobile. And I said, yeah, and snowmobiles are absolutely no fun. Why would anybody buy a snowmobile? It's fun. You can take these things and get them out on the road. You can drive, you know, anywhere you want on paved roads, but if the road comes to an end and it says under construction or whatever, you don't have to do a U-turn. You just keep going. It's great. I mean, I've you know, built my own trike initially because I wanted to get more into the backcountry, but I didn't want to drive a dirt bike 100 miles to get there. I'd rather drive one of these and then get into the gravel roads and that kind of stuff. So that's why I kind of got into it. And I would never trade back. I mean, I've got regular motorcycles. I don't drive them. I just don't drive them because these things are just better. So that is the scoop. So I'll have to do a couple more videos on some other things here too. So anyway, that's it for the comparison shopping between guitars, golfing, and trikes.